Welcome to The Explainer. All right, let's dive right into a really fun thought experiment today. What happens when you take ancient thousand-year-old wisdom and smash it into a very, very modern problem, like, say, buying a new car? Yeah, forget about horsepower and torque for a minute. We're going to be talking about virtue and what it means to live a good life.
I mean, just picture it. If Plato himself had to choose a car, what do you think he'd pick? Would he go for something sensible, maybe a super high-tech EV? Or would he just throw his hands up and walk out completely disgusted by the whole thing? Well, let's find out. We are matching ancient minds with modern machines.
Okay, first up, let's meet what I'm calling Team Sobriety. Now, this is a whole crew of thinkers who would look at a big, fancy luxury SUV and not see a status symbol at all. Nope, they'd see a rolling box of anxiety. See, for them, the end goal is never about performance or looking cool. It's all about one thing: peace of mind.
And the key to understanding them, the absolute core concept, is this word, ataraxia. It's basically a state of complete, serene calmness, just being totally free from disturbance or worry. That's the ultimate prize. So every decision they make, especially buying a car, gets measured against this one question. Does this thing bring me closer to ataraxia? Or is it just going to add a bunch of complexity and want to my life?
So who's actually in this club? Well, you've got guys like Epicurus and Lucretius. They'd probably go for something super simple, like a Dacia Spring or a Citroën C3. Why? Because their whole deal is about limiting desires. For them, luxury is just a distraction for the soul. Then you have others, like Seneca and Cicero. And what's interesting is they'd end up with the exact same car, but for a slightly different reason. They're coming at it from an angle of responsibility and moderation, avoiding the waste of resources. But for all of them, the bottom line is the same. A car is a tool, period. Not some ego-boosting machine that keeps you up at night.
All right, now let's do a complete 180. Let's look at the polar opposite perspective with our next group, team efficiency. If team sobriety was all about finding inner peace, this group is all about finding proof. These are the tech-savvy optimizers, the ones who believe in progress, in data, and in nothing but the hard numbers.
And their whole philosophy boils down to something we could call empirical efficiency. It's pretty straightforward, actually. The best choice has nothing to do with feelings or avoiding desire. No, the best choice is the one that you can measure, that you can verify, the one that is provably superior. These guys trust in calculation, in science, and in the sheer power of technology to make our world better and more optimized.
And this is where it gets really fascinating, because this just shatters that old idea that all ancient thinkers would hate modern technology. Take Democritus. As a materialist, he'd probably be absolutely thrilled by a Tesla. I mean, it's a marvel of measurable, optimizable tech. Then there's Thales. He'd be into it, for sure, but with a condition. He'd say, show me the data. If a Tesla or maybe a BMW has the best verifiable numbers on efficiency, then boom, that's the only rational choice. And you can't forget Heraclitus. He'd look at the entire shift to electric vehicles and see it as this necessary creative evolution for society. For him, change is the only constant.
So you can really see the clash here, right? It's a fundamental conflict in philosophies. On one side, you have team sobriety. Their goal is inner peace, and their method is moderation. A car is just a tool to get from A to B. But on the other side, you have team efficiency. Their goal is measurable progress, and their method is optimization. To them, a car can be the absolute peak of human innovation. It's basically tranquility versus technology.
But wait, not every philosopher would just jump into one of those two camps. Our third group, the Pragmatists, they're the ones who would say, well, it depends. They're not going to give you a straight answer, because for them, picking a car isn't about what you want or even what the raw data says. It's about asking a whole bunch of much, much deeper questions.
So let's start with Aristotle. He'd be all about finding the golden mean, that perfect sweet spot of balance. Before he'd even think about making a choice, he'd demand a massive comparative analysis of, well, everything. Resource use, how the batteries are made, total pollution, the car's function in society, the whole shebang. For him, the best car is simply the one that serves the common good, the one that strikes the perfect balance for everyone.
Plato, on the other hand, would zoom way out. He'd take this very top-down city planner view. Honestly, he wouldn't care one bit about your personal choice. What he would care about is how it all fits into his master plan for a perfect, orderly city.
He'd be asking, is having millions of individual cars, even if they're electric, really the most rational plan? And he might just argue that the truly rational choice isn't a car at all, but investing in amazing electric public transportation to cut down on chaos and inequality. And then, of course, you have Socrates, and you just know he would cut right through all the noise, the tech specs, the marketing, all of it, with one simple and frankly devastating question. But does this choice actually make our souls and our society better and more just? He wouldn't care if it runs on batteries or gasoline. He'd back whichever option you could prove through rigorous argument would lead to less injustice, less pollution, and less reliance on systems that hurt us.
Okay, we've got one final thinker to look at, and this one represents a totally different way of thinking. This is the philosopher who is a true skeptic of change itself. We're not just talking about being skeptical of a new kind of car, we're talking about being skeptical of the very idea that technological change is a good thing.
So meet Parmenides and his car of choice, a good old-fashioned combustion engine Fiat Panda. And his reason is purely philosophical, which is wild. See, for Parmenides, true reality is stable, eternal, and unchanging. All this stuff we see, this world of constant change, is basically an illusion. So this frantic race for new and better technology, it's completely misguided. He would much rather stick with the stable, proven, understood technology of a traditional car than get swept up in what he sees as the disruptive illusion of the next big thing.
So, we've taken a tour through this pretty weird philosophical car dealership. What's the big takeaway here? Well, it's that these ancient ways of looking at the world are actually incredibly powerful tools that we can still use right now. Maybe what your car says about you has less to do with the logo on the hood and more to do with the philosophy you're actually living by.
Let's just boil it all down. You can really look at any big decision you have to make through these 4 different lenses. First, there's the sobriety lens. You ask yourself, is this going to bring me peace, or is it just going to make my life more complicated? Then the efficiency lens, which demands, okay, what does the hard data say is the absolute best choice? Then you've got the pragmatist lens, which makes you ask, what's the ripple effect here? What's the impact on my community? And finally, the stability lens, which urges a bit of caution. Is this new thing really better than what's already proven to work?
And that brings it all right back to you. After hearing all this, who would you want riding shotgun when you go to make your next big decision? Would you be car shopping with Epicurus the minimalist? Or maybe the data nerd Democritus? How about the super cautious Aristotle? Or even the traditionalist Parmenides? Who you'd pick? Well, that says a whole lot, doesn't it? And there you have it. A quick look at how some really old ideas can give us a totally new way to think about our modern lives. Thanks so much for joining The Explainer. Make sure you follow us for more deep dives into big topics. And until next time, take a second to think about what philosophy is really driving you.